how much email, so to stay involved with him. So I have a script. It's pretty long, and I'm going to have to try to stick to it, but bear with me. I'm not Bill Super. I'm not even Jimmy Olsen. I'm the Zoom board member. Well, welcome to everybody on the day after Labor Day. So I'm pretty impressed that everybody's here. I'm impressed that I'm here. And we have a wonderful presentation today, and I'll do that introduction later. I want to thank all our council members, and I have just a couple brief announcements, and then I'm going to bring up our meeting sponsor, John Kramer. Okay, so the next meeting is set for October 1st. My glasses on here. And it is the philanthropic and charitable conversations with your clients. Okay, it's going to be with Linda Sands, a nationally noted philanthropic and charitable estate planner. And that starts again at 7. Hopefully Bill will be back by then, or David will be doing this, not Phil. And then there's another one coming up, and I think it's one of my partners, Jennifer McGivens and Rebecca O'Toole, will be doing their presentation on spouses, which I saw once. It's a good one. Catch that one. And I'm not just saying that because she's my partner. It's a pretty funny one. They do a good routine. So go see that one. Pete, did you want to just step up here real quickly and talk about trifectas?
Thank you, Phil. Those who have been coming here know about the trifecta. Those that are new, what we're doing is put your business card in this bowl, and I'm going to do my best to pair you up with 2 other people, hopefully that'll complement your industry, and get together for breakfast, lunch, coffee, happy hour, a hike, whatever you want to do. But this is more of getting to know each other on a more personal basis. Please, no soliciting, no handouts. Been getting a lot of good feedback from the trifectas. So thank you everybody for participating. You don't have to participate, but you're missing out if you don't. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. So, John, I'm going to introduce you. I'm not actually going to read anything. I know it's going to do it very simply. So I've known John. Wow, it's been a long time. And yeah, long time. And I'll tell you this, anytime I have an insurance question, I call John, and not only is he an answer man on insurance, but he's always gracious with his time. And many of my clients have engaged him. So it's been a good relationship. And now his daughter is working with him, Belinda, who is lovely as well. And I told John, it's one of my dreams. I'm hoping to get one of my kids to come into my practice. So far, it's not happening. So I need to know that secret as well. But John, why don't you come up here, tell more people about your services, and then you're going to introduce which I think is one of the best parts, is the positivity people.
Thanks, Phil. Good morning, everybody. I'll keep it short. I've been doing insurance for over 30 years, and I got into it by accident. My wife had a pre-existing condition when we moved back here from Sweden. She's from Sweden, and I'd been living there, and we'd started a family. I had 2 kids and a third on the way, and I didn't realize pregnancy was a pre-existing condition. Learned a lot, argued a lot, fought with a lot of insurance companies, and ended up having to go back to Sweden to have a baby. But through this process, I got interested about the complexity, the difficulties, the lack of advocacy of anyone in the market that could help me with my situation. And I turned it into a career, and been doing that for over 30 years, doing it with my daughter for the last 5, which has been a joy. I have Mary in my office. If anybody's talked to me over the years, you've probably talked to Mary earlier and more often than you've talked with me. She's a great addition to the team. So we're a small practice, but we're actually supported by hundreds of people across the country who have resources through National Financial Partners, one of the biggest providers. We're fiercely independent. We always serve the needs of the clients first versus the carriers, but we take time to find the best carriers we can in the market. Insurance is difficult, and at the same time, it's simple. And so we have the name for our firm is Kramer Insurance Solutions, And the acronym is also the same as Keep It Simple. So when we can, we keep it simple, but we can also handle the complexity and the difficulties that sometimes come up in this space. We spend a lot of time underwriting. We spend a lot of time educating clients. And I like to say that I don't sell insurance, I help people buy it. And I do that by helping them get educated and informed and understand the choices they have, which is sometimes hard for people to see and to hear how many options are out there. But I think it's important to understand that and then narrow it down and start to focus in on what works well. And for us, speaking to advisors is really important. And that's why I like doing this and being a part of this group, because we do almost all of our work in conjunction and together with the professional advisory community, because we think it's really important. Otherwise, people start plans and then go in a different direction. And that's very expensive in insurance, to start a plan and not finish it. So we try to work with the attorneys, the accountants, the wealth advisors especially, so that we can stay in alignment with the overall plans for the family. We did a little handout that's on your tables that tell a little bit more about our firm. So you can read on that. I'm always available. My main number is my cell phone. You're welcome to call anytime. I get calls. I got a call Friday afternoon from some lady, not a client. Her policy's expiring in 17 days, and she had questions about this process, and she'd heard about me. I got a call Sunday morning from an attorney on his way home from church who'd met a client who had questions, someone that was 93. So we'd spend a lot of time helping people that are not our clients. So they don't, if you find you have a client that has insurance and has questions and they are not in touch with their agent, they've retired, or they just want a second opinion, we're always happy, as Phil said, to take that call, provide some advice and some background. I think today's topic is really important. I did my first settlement in 1999 when it was just getting started. I helped someone sell one policy that year, and it was 2% of the entire marketplace that year, which is pretty phenomenal when you think about it. There was only $300 million of life insurance sold that year. It's gone as high as $10 or $12 billion in a year. And right now, you'll hear numbers from Lisa as to what the volume is today. But it's not a huge industry, and it's really, really important because a lot of people need to get out of policies. They've bought too much, or they can't afford what they have, or many times they just don't need it anymore. When I started in the business, $600,000 was the exemption amount. So just about anybody that had wealth or a piece of real estate could benefit from using life insurance as a way of paying estate taxes. Today, it's very different. Those exemptions are 22 times higher. So many of the clients that I sold insurance to early in my career don't need it anymore. So I have this discussion with clients often and try to give them an exit. So I'm happy to have Lisa here. And she invited me to actually share some case studies, which I'll do. Now, I've got the great joy of introducing Positivity. Excuse me? Positive Teams. Positive Teams.
For someone who passed away in Minnesota. Because they have a positive service dog trait for veterans there.
Well, there's a drafting tip for everybody. The EIN when you do the designation. Right. Okay, thank you. Hey, Positive Teams is a small nonprofit 501c3 organization started in San Diego by two local women 27 years ago with one dog. Its mission is to enhance the lives of individuals with special needs who live in San Diego County by using the skills of highly trained service, facility, and therapy dogs. It's a volunteer-inspired organization. They accomplish their mission through the generosity of donors and the compassion, talent, and time of over 75 volunteers in their all-volunteer programs.
They estimate they currently impact over 6,500 citizens annually through their programs. Today, we have Eileen Heveron, the executive director, and Danelle Curry, one of their lead volunteers who runs the therapy program at Scripps Encinitas. Welcome. And their dog, Bougie, is here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So Danelle and Bougie are going to be circulating. I am not going to run slides today, and I'm just going to, they were sent to people on Zoom. Sorry. Say what? Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm not going to run slides because my talk has to be in 5 minutes, starting in just a second. I timed it yesterday without jokes and without taking too many breaths, and it's 5 minutes. So I'm going to give you the snapshot of who is Positive Teams. Thank you guys so much for having us here today. We really appreciate it. Positive Teams is in fact local, started 27 years ago by 2 Rancho Bernardo women and 1 dog. We have been continuously accredited by Assistance Dogs International since 2005. We have to be reaccredited every 5 years, and we're only one of 154 organizations that actually meet their very stringent criteria. Our mission is to enhance the lives of individuals with special needs in San Diego County by using the skills of highly trained service facility and therapy dogs. I've left our main brochure as well as a document you should really take, which is called Dogs Helping People. Dogs Helping People will explain the differences between the different dogs that are allowed to help people and what their access rights are and who they normally work with. It's great to have around because peacocks going on airplanes just doesn't cut it. So as an all-volunteer inspired and almost all volunteer run organization, we do have over 75 volunteers who help us accomplish our mission across the county. Our all volunteer programs that we conduct include service dog training and placement with mobility limited San Diegans and veterans with PTSD. We don't serve any other disabilities. And all of that is explained on our website, which is like a primer for these kinds of programs. Our facility dog training by our trainers or by a brand new owner trained facility dog academy and placement with San Diego facilities and organizations that actually serve those people with special needs or the underserved in San Diego. We run a therapy dog prep school 4 times a year for individuals in San Diego who would think they would like to volunteer with their dog. After going through our 6-week program, sometimes they decide it's not the right job for their dog, but that's part of the reason why we do it. And Danelle and I are both instructors in prep school. If you want to see Bougie, just raise your hand and she'll just go see you. Our goal-directed therapy dog programs are actually different than your typical meet and greet. The dogs that come and visit you in hospitals, work with kids in libraries, etc. Ours are called goal-directed. We offer them at no charge. Right now, we are operating at 11 sites across San Diego. We match volunteer dog and handler teams that we certify under our own insurance with those partner leadership team folks. So think attorneys at the courthouse, special ed teachers, or social workers at schools, that sort of thing. We also work with the military in a program called Canine Inspired Community, Canine Inspired Community Reintegration. We know that as SEEKR. And that's a program we run right now at Naval Hospital with active duty military who will be exiting the military within 6 months or so and are still suffering from war-inflicted wounds, if you will. Our education and outreach presentations and demonstrations like this one are offered at no charge across the county. We offer them from everyone from age 5 through 95. So we do Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops. We do entire schools. We've done the Daughters of the American Revolution. It goes on and on. So we have a lot of fun showing our dogs and what they can do to others. And we usually do demonstrations with service or facility dogs in training as well. Bougie, as you can tell, is extremely well behaved, and she is a star obedience competitor, but she also is a star therapy dog at Scripps Encinitas. So what you need to know about us is that we're pretty successful, but we're very, very small. So it's always a give and take with what we do. Until about 14 or 15 years ago, we were all volunteer and we got too big to be able to do that. So our administrative costs are kept to a minimum. We're at somewhere between 13 and 15%. And the national average for nonprofits is around 20%. We use a special model for training our service and facility dogs. It uses operant positive reinforcement training. We do not kennel the dogs. People are always surprised if they come and visit our training center because they're expecting to see a bunch of dogs and hear barking. And our training center is just to train the dogs. All of the dogs that are being trained by positive teams live with their trainer in their homes. They go to work with them every day. They go to the grocery store, the dry cleaners, they go out and about, as well as being trained at our training center and at various places across San Diego. So we think that it works really well. Because we're local, we have eyes on the dog. We take care of the dogs through the dog's life. So if, for example, a dog gets very, very ill later in life and has extremely high veterinary bills, we do have a fund that's restricted that was set up by one of our donors years ago to help with those veterinary costs. So we do keep eyes on them. They have to be retested every 2 years, and we're in good touch with our graduates. Our service dog placement rate is right around 70%, just a titch below 70%. The national average is around 50%. And we think it's simply because our model, we're small, we're local, and we're all positive training. We don't breed our own dogs. So as I said, it's a push-pull because it's hard to keep up with expenses and that sort of thing, as you know. But with our prep school, we've had over 900 successfully completed enrollments since the prep school's been offered. And a large majority of those folks go out and they volunteer in the community with their dogs, whether it's with our programs or with some of the national programs that operate here in San Diego. Most people have dual certifications. We've worked actively on our big strategic initiative from last year, which is to enlarge our facility dog program. What we'd like to do is have more people know about us. And the way to know about us is to have our dogs out there wearing their green vests or their green bandanas. So we decided to create an owner-trained facility dog academy, which was fun. We do have a lot of experience with the therapy dog program, so we were able to capitalize on that expertise and create something for facility dogs, which is an entirely different type of certification. We now have 11 teams working across the county. One team is at the VA hospital. There is another team at Camp Pendleton's new Intrepid Center for individuals with traumatic brain injuries. We have a dog at the Vista Courthouse that works with the victim's advocate there, as well as courthouse dogs, which are therapy dogs. And then we have a pediatric occupational therapist who works at a home office, but goes and works with kids at a variety of the schools across the county who need the occupational therapy. And then we have 7 schools in San Diego County that have one of our Positive Teams facility dogs. So as was noted in the introduction, we are funded by donations made by individual donors as well as some grants that come in. The donations support a large variety of things: service dog training, placement, veterinary care, equipment, food, etc. And then we assist our graduates for the life of the dog. Our facility dog training and placement, therapy dog prep school, goal-directed therapy dog programs, educational outreach programs and demos, operations at our fully owned training center. We had, as a side note, started in a garage, kind of like Apple computers, and grew to having been allowed to work in the garden center of a closed Kmart store. And then we moved to, because that got kind of weird with weather. We moved to a city-owned light industrial complex. And when they decided they wanted to tear it all down, we had to find a place to live. And our executive director at the time and some of our board members worked on finding us our training center that we have now. That board member gave us a really, really good rate on a loan for the mortgage. And then we had a burn the mortgage campaign, and we were able to purchase the training facility outright, which from my perspective was really, really great during COVID when I didn't have to pay a mortgage. So the funding we receive from our service and facility dog programs doesn't cover the actual costs, but we do estimate we are now reaching at least 6,500 folks. We are open to questions at any time. I've left brochures, Dogs Meeting People, and my business card. And I used to be a gift and estate planning officer at Caltech, so I know what you do for a living, and I'm happy to talk to you. Thank you.
So there can't be any coincidence that Bill had the therapy dog on the day that I'm emceeing this. Think about that. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Danelle. Thank you, Bougie. Okay, we're already tight on time, so I'm going to make it very quick to introduce Lisa. I can remember the first time that I encountered life settlements, and I was kind of surprised at that. But I always tell people, clients always have a house, a retirement plan, bank account, and life insurance. So it's a critical piece to people's planning. And I think it's often abused because people think, oh, I just pay it and there it is, but it's actually an asset. And I tell people when they're doing ILITs or revocable life insurance trusts, that when they're trustee, it is an asset you have to keep your eye on and make sure it's being productive. But Lisa Rehburg is president of the Rehburg Life Insurance Settlements, a life insurance settlement broker. She's passionate about her career. She's been in the business over 30 years. So you started when you were like 12, right? Yeah, right. And she's, wow, she's spoken with many organizations and estate planning councils. So Lisa has her bio on the table, also her card, but I'm just going to let you get into it since we're late. And welcome, Lisa, to our
Okay, that was the first trip. There's probably going to be others. So just so you know, get your cards ready. I expect scores if I wind up on the floor. Little klutzy. Anyway, thank you so much for your time this morning. Bougie is a tough act to follow. I just have to say that. Thank you, Bill. We're going to talk about who, what, why, where, and how. And the reason I chose the title of this is many people don't know about life settlements and life insurance settlements. And thank you for being here. I'm excited about life insurance settlements at 8 o'clock in the morning after Labor Day. So happy to see you. But the reason I chose the title is a lot of people don't know about them, not comfortable with them, don't know how they work. And I thought about, what do journalists do when they're interviewing people? They talk about these things, right? Who, what, why, where, and how. And that's what we're going to do this morning. So you see every slide have one of those questions at the top. So let's talk about who can benefit from life insurance settlements. If you are any of these professionals, your clients can benefit from life insurance settlements. So these are for financial advisors, CPAs, insurance professionals, right? Nonprofits, what are you doing on here? If you have a donor who does not want their life insurance policy, doesn't need it, can't afford it, doesn't want to pay the premiums, they can sell that and make that donation to you. So if you're in healthcare, this is another way to pay for long-term care. If you're in reverse mortgages, what's that doing up there? If you have a client who's short to close, the money can be used to pay down the mortgage, and now they can qualify for reverse mortgage. So all of these professionals can benefit from, their clients can benefit from life settlements. So who has life insurance in this country? This is what the over age 65 numbers look like. And what's important here is look at over age 70. This does not even include term policies. My point is there's an awful lot of life insurance out there. And look at the last number, 2.5 million seniors a year, every single year, are going to lapse their life insurance policies. This means they stop making the premium payments on it and they let their policies go. Or they surrender it, not to get too wonky, but they have life insurance policies that have cash in them. They have like a little savings account in them called cash value. They grab that cash value out and they surrender their policy back to the insurance company, 2.5 million a year. And I will show you what the numbers look like for our industry last year. Huge disparity. The point is 2.5 million seniors a year will lapse their policy, and look at how much they leave behind. $100 billion of benefits. Why? They don't know that selling their policy is an option. So how does this even work? Think about real estate agents in the room. We talked to a couple this morning. We're like real estate agents for life insurance policies as a life settlements broker, because a life insurance policy is an asset that a client owns. Phil, you mentioned that earlier. So did you, John. And like their house, like real estate, and most people don't know about it. Even term policies are an asset that a client owns. And so as an asset, it can be sold. The process is called a life insurance settlement, or life settlement for short. And it's literally a financial transaction. So think about when you sell your car, you receive a lump sum of cash, you sign the pink slip of the car over to the new owner, and the owner drives away, right? Very similar. Clients receive a lump sum of cash. They sign the pink slip of their policy. It's called the change of ownership form to the buyer. The buyer pays the premium. The buyer's making themselves the beneficiary. That's what they get out of the deal. It's an investment for them, but they're important because without them, we can't help clients. So client signs over that change of ownership. Buyer pays the premium, receives the death benefit. Client receives lump sum of cash. That process is called the life insurance settlement, or life settlement for short. So what types of policies can be sold? Any type of policy can be sold. There's no type that can't be sold. Now, what I'm not saying is every policy that we see sells. But what I am saying is there's no type of policy that can't be sold, including term policies. So the number one seller we see is universal life. Universal life is one of those cash value type of policies. They tend to, once again, not trying to get too wonky, but they tend to implode if they're not funded properly. So we see a lot of clients as we get older, that cost of insurance goes up and that cash gets depleted, and clients have to put more money into these policies to keep them going. And they're like, no, I can't do it. And we have some examples of that. But term has no value, right? There's no cash in there. Like, how does that happen? Why would anyone want to buy a term policy? And typically, if you have a term policy, you might want to check this out. Typically, term policies can be convertible to a permanent policy like universal life, and that is what makes term policies very marketable. So we sell almost as many term policies as we do universal life, really close 1 and 2. And then whole is a little bit more difficult because it's higher premiums usually and higher cash values. And then we also sell group and second to die. Second to die is primarily for estate planning purposes. So point is, any type of policy can be sold. And I had this question this morning, why would anybody want to sell their life insurance policy, right? Little weird, kind of strange. Because you saw 2.5 million seniors are going to lapse or surrender. So it's 2.5 million reasons. But these are the common reasons. Number one, policies unaffordable due to policy performance. That's a wonky way to say universal life policy has been underfunded and it's imploding, and it has to have more cash put into them to keep them going, and clients just don't want to do it. We talked about term policies. My term policy is coming to the end, or it's coming to the end of the ability to convert it to a permanent policy, and perhaps the client just wants to convert part of it, or they're just going to let it go completely. I'm not going to do anything with it. I've retired and my policy is not fit in the retirement budget. I've sold my business, or as a doctor in Arizona did, he sold his rental properties. And so we had a life insurance policy to cover those rental properties just in case. He sold them, doesn't need it. I have a chronic illness. I'm trying to find ways to pay for assisted living or memory care for myself or my spouse. Another way to fund long-term care. Or I've had a decline in estate value, and so the policy that I put in place is no longer needed. So these are some common reasons as to why a client would sell their policy. The bottom line is, I don't want it anymore. I don't need it anymore. The reason I bought the policy 20, 25, 30 years ago, 5 years ago, is no longer an issue. Or I can't afford it or don't want to afford it anymore. That's typically what we see. Okay, John Kramer, you're up. So John kindly has offered to talk about some specific case studies, which I think is awesome. And I really do appreciate him being here to be able to talk about his particular client situations.
Thanks, Lisa. Again, I just wanted to give you a few examples. And as I go through these, I'll kind of try to highlight one or two aspects of it that made it unique. This was a gentleman I helped just in the last couple years, and Tom went through a situation that many of my clients do around estate planning. They bought a policy. They're assuming they're going to use it for estate planning to pay estate liquidity, and 20 years later, in fact, Tom was not one of my clients. Most of my examples are people that were not my clients originally, but I was introduced to help along the way. So his wife had passed away. And with second to die, it's usually easiest once one of the spouses passes away for it to now be sold on the market. But he was having a lot of trouble because at a time of grief, at a time of emotional loss, he was also being, in his mind, forced to make this decision. As Lisa said, premiums were going up. He'd always thought this would be something the kids would take on, that he was going to pass away first, and suddenly he's lost his spouse. He's now having to make these tough decisions. And so what I did is I came in and first thing is trying to be aware of the sensitivity of the situation, be empathetic, take time, not put pressure, get him to work with his advisors to the extent he was able to. But more importantly, we really engaged the kids. And the kids were so supportive of their dad. You know, they'd gone through the same loss as their father had about losing their mom, but they also wanted to support their dad at this time. He had his own health issues, and they got involved. I got to meet all the kids. I'd never met any of them before. They came to every meeting. They were very engaged, very supportive, and more importantly, just reminding him that more important than them being taken care of in the future, they wanted him to feel taken care of now. So this was a huge relief for him. He was able to completely eliminate his payments on the policy. He had a $1.2 million policy, and we were able to get him over half the value, so $610,000. And this is money that comes to the owners now. So the kids' trust receive the money now, and the kids told Dad, we'd rather have $1 today and see you not pressured to continue to make these premium payments for many years to come than to wait and get $2 in the future. And it meant a lot to the dad to have that pressure off his shoulders. He was seeing the kids come to the house more often for these meetings, and they promised him that, hey, Dad, after the sale, we're still coming over. We've now got money to bring the whole family with us and visit. So he said for him, it was a real positive. But again, being a good businessman and thinking about the kids, he was worried because, well, what if I pass away in the next year or two? So more recently in the insurance in the life settlement world, we're able to attach what's called a retained death benefit. So in addition to the cash he receives, the family will also receive an additional payout if he dies in the first 1 or 2 years. And that's to help the families not have buyer's remorse, or excuse me, seller's remorse of selling the policy and then the parents having passed away. And for me, it's also an indication that the buyer is willing to say, I'm not looking to take advantage of you. If you pass away in the short run, we'll actually return some additional dollars, and that's a contractual agreement. It's tied to the actual beneficiary designation in the policy, and we can't do that on every policy, but we're being able to do that more and more often. Thank you. This second one is a gentleman, a law firm partner, and the law firm had bought dozens of policies for their top partners, and they designed them to look and work like term policies. But after 15 years, they'd all run out of cash. They were these universal life plans. So they were very good, very inexpensive in the early years, but they'd become very expensive. I was referred by his wealth manager from Texas. This gentleman lived in New York. We had literally days to gather information, make an educated decision about what to do. And what we decided to do was pay 3 months of premium. He was looking at an increase from $30,000 a year to $120,000 a year. And he was obviously just going to let it go. There was $6,000 of cash in it. And we encouraged him to just make a minimum payment, just give me 3 months to do the work. We collected 700 pages of records from 7 locations across 3 states, gathered all this information. And what we do is then start an analytical process where underwriters, medical professionals analyze this information and help buyers determine how long will this individual likely live on average. And that allows buyers to reverse engineer and figure out what they can pay. We also went to independent, what are called life expectancy studies, and they actually build actuarial models based on that individual's health, and then can build a statistical model, again, that can be used by the buyer. So it takes the guesswork out of it, makes it much more science-based, medical-based, factual-based, and then that will oftentimes increase the price. So this gentleman went from having a policy that was worth $6,000. He was able to sell it for 75 times that amount for $465,000. And we were able to get that done. It typically takes a few months on average. But again, very informed individual. He engaged his wife, his legal advisors, his wealth advisors in this process. And again, the goal oftentimes is not always to sell. My goal is to educate. Sometimes people go through this process. In fact, much of the time, they'll go through this process, they'll get educated, they'll learn more about their health that they haven't looked at in many, many years from a life insurance industry perspective, and they'll decide to keep the policy. He went ahead and decided to sell it when he felt like it was enough money. This was a $4 million policy that he had. So again, it's an example of people are literally days away from not getting anything of value, and in return, staying with it and going through this process in a few months can, in some cases, realize hundreds of thousands. Go next one, please. Next one is a family I'm working with right now. And here's an example of a family that's assessed a situation and decided for the time being to hang on to the policy. This again was not my original client. They'd bought a policy in 2008. And that was one of these windows when these this methodology of selling policies was very popular. There were a lot of investors. It was really the Wild West of settlements during that time. They put money in a policy. Their agent had told them, this is a great deal. You're going to be able to exit this if you ever need to. They put $1 million of premium in. I met them 10 years later, and the policy was not performing. They couldn't sell it. They felt angry. They felt misinformed, that they'd been talked into something. And we were able to re-underwrite them. And instead of having what's called a rated policy that reflects poor health and is very expensive, we were able to get them a preferred rating, which brought their premiums down and saved them about 35% a year. And they had begun looking at this more as life insurance that would pay off for the family someday. When we help somebody replace a policy, even if it hasn't performed well, we'll always move it by a 1035 exchange. And that way we can carry the basis from the old policy into the new policy. And that helps them, if they ever do need to sell the policy, to pay less tax. Individuals, the families had the policy for the last 5 years. They've paid only about $500,000 into it, even though the individual's older. And now there's been some health changes. So we've gone through and helped them understand that. Again, we've collected 600 pages of records over 2 states, multiple studies, and this individual has a life expectancy of about 4 to 5 years. Let me turn this slide. And what we were able to do, first we came back and we said, this is what the market will bear. This is what buyers would pay for this policy, about $1.3 million for a $4.5 million policy. Because the premiums are going up, they're going to go up to over $200,000 a year. And so we helped the family look at one of these retained benefit plans where they could receive a high amount if the individual passes away in the next 4 years, then it would step down if they lived 4 years longer, and it would step down again. And that was kind of meant to reflect the risk that the buyer's taking on. Again, didn't want to keep all the windfall if the individual passed away in the short run, and still gave the family a chance to receive quite a bit of the death benefit. And then we actually went back a 3rd time to the market and made a hybrid that was more cash and less of the retained death benefit. And the family for now has taken a wait and see approach. They're hanging on to the policy. They're monitoring their father's health, but it's giving them peace of mind to know that they have this in their pocket if they ever need it, a chance to exit the policy and have the financial wherewithal to take care of their family member in the meantime. Last case I'm going to talk to you about is a gentleman named Fred, and I was hoping Fred could be here today. Fred's 84, one of the most classic gentlemen I've ever met. He was a CEO for a major company when I met him, and I didn't realize it, but he had so many other professions and other paths he walked. A really great guy. But I met him when he was retiring, and he'd had a severance package that included some prepaid term insurance. And it was over $4 million of coverage. He'd had cancer during his working career. That's why he retired. His advisor knew the work I did and introduced us. And we went through a process over a few months helping him price out this term insurance. And he didn't, this was back in, I think we did this in 2004. So yeah, almost a little bit over 20 years ago. And we were able to go through this process and help him get over $800,000 after tax. He netted $720,000. And I was going to have Fred come because it's a great story of what he did with the money. He absolutely, as a smart businessman, understood this was a business decision at an emotional time. He'd been sick, he'd had cancer in his past, but he felt better. He felt he'd beat it. He thought he was going to do great, and he wanted to bet against the guys that wanted to buy this policy. And I thought it'd be a great story to have Fred walk in 20 years later and say, you know, these guys were definitely wrong. He has a small medical issue. He couldn't make it today. He was worried about being more of a distraction than a help. But it's a great story. He gave the money to his wife, who is a great designer. So they took the money, took it out to the desert. They had a rental property, and they just decked out this home, spent virtually all the money on this home, and they built what they called the Pineapple House. They took the whole family to Indonesia, and they bought every stick of furniture, artwork, kitchen details, outdoors furniture, and they built an Indonesian replica home in the middle of Palm Desert. And his 3 kids have been going there. They always talked about having grandkids. Now there's 5 grandkids. And this has been the family nexus for the last 20 years. Every Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, holidays are out there with the kids. And that's oftentimes the part to remember. Settlements can create a great next chapter for families. And that's a great example of this. I did bring a very special, not Fred, much younger than Fred, but another client who's,
All 4 cases.
yeah. And so he's gone through this and he understands the industry and the background. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to say.
Sure. In life settlement business. And, we were heavily involved. I get to do my testimonial now. We were engaged in a bunch of policies. And John did every single thing that he said that he did for all of these clients for us, from premium financing to redoing policies to getting settlement offers, everything. But I don't know if you can tell from his style, but he is so relaxed. And he used a couple of words, which is just the experience in working with him. He is empathetic. He is calm. He is collected. And these are high value policies and they're very emotional and sometimes they're on family members. And so it's a lot. And he educates you. And then he always brings, I think, super creative solutions, much like you have here, to figure out what to do with all of this stuff because it is so complicated and health changes, it doesn't change, all those things. And I wanted to be here to support him because he has done so much for our family to make our investment in life insurance for estate planning so much better and so much easier. So that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you being here. I'm going to bring Lisa back up. So thank you, Lisa, for letting me share some stories.
My pleasure, John. And thank you for the personal aspect of this. And thank you for being here as well. So those are some examples as to why, right? I'm going to run through a few more just real quickly. So the first one's a term policy. Gentleman, it was ending. Gentleman was going to walk away with 0, 68, pretty healthy. So we got him $6,000 and you're like, oh, $6,000, like what do we do, right? But he's going to walk away with 0. So he was absolutely thrilled. This is $1 million universal life policy that once again was blowing up, meaning that more money had to be put into it. Gentleman was 72 years old. He did have Parkinson's. He's a doctor, by the way, a research doctor, trying to find a cure for diabetes. Wonderful man. And he had to put $2,500 a month of premiums into this policy and said, no, thank you. So opening offer on his policy was $15,000, literally. And our role is to get clients the most amount of money for their policy. And we got him $190,000, $350,000 universal life policy. Mom was the insured, and the brother and the sister, I should say, sorry, son and daughter, were the owners of the policy, and the premiums were $35,000 a year to continue the policy. Once again, getting too expensive. So it had about $5,000 of cash in it. We got them about $20,000 just because the premiums were so high. And mom was a healthy 84-year-old. $150,000 policy. This is a very similar situation where gentleman was 85 years old. Once again, those premiums got really high. And so we sold that policy for $40,000 and he's going to walk away with literally 0. $130,000 whole life policy. Once again, you kind of see a theme here, right? This gentleman was 88 years old, had borrowed money out of the policy, so literally no cash in it. And he didn't think he was going to live that long. How many times have we heard that? And he got $30,000 for it. So once again, went from 0 to 30. And the last was a $500,000 term policy. These were partners in a business. Term policy was coming to an end. They weren't going to do anything with it. Gentleman, once again, was 67 years old, pretty healthy. And we got him $7,500, once again, beat 0. So it's kind of all over the map. Once again, 2.5 million seniors, right? And we're not here to talk anybody out of their life insurance policy. That's not what I'm standing here to do. But what I am saying is, if you know anybody that is going to get rid of their policy, right? One of the 2.5 million, we're just here to get them more money. And next. So here's some really unique ones real quickly. $10 million term policy, pretty healthy 61-year-old. This was a business that he sold. And so this is a key person policy, doesn't need the term policy anymore, sold it for $75,000. So my point to this one is people do not necessarily have to be in their 80s or 90s. We do sell policies to people who are younger. And because this term policy was such a high face value, we were able to get an offer for it. This one is an $810,000 universal life policy. There's $100,000 of cash in it. We got a $200,000 offer. But like John was mentioning, that retained death benefit, this client said, you know what? I don't need the money. I don't need the money. I just want to take care of my family. So we got him an offer that was zero cash and $350,000 of retained death benefit. What that means is when he passes away, his family receives $350,000 and they don't have to pay any premiums for it. So what my point is, it can be really super flexible. This one I'm actually really proud of. It's a $50,000 policy. There's no cash in it. Brace yourself. Premiums $10,000 a year to continue. Yes, I know. Gentleman's 86 years old, does have some health issues, cannot afford this. We got a $10,000 offer on this. I'm so proud. He was so happy to get out from underneath it. So that's what this is about, right? Just getting clients more money than walking away from these policies with zero. So when people are considering getting rid of their policies, once again, a life settlement can bring significantly greater value. And what I mean by this, on average, we generate 6 times cash surrender value, 6 times. So whether it be a term policy or a policy that's got cash in it, typically averages 6 times. And here's what I mean. These are the LISA statistics, not me. The Life Insurance Settlements Association. I just love the fact that their acronyms, right? Like I am supposed to be doing this. But these are the LISA statistics from 2023. So remember the 2.5 million? Here's the part that kills me. Here's my passion. 3,218 transactions last year. John mentioned the disparity because people do not know. 3,218. $842 million was paid to consumers. $707 million more than what they would have gotten if they lapsed or surrendered it. So about 6 times. That averages to about $262,000 more per person. And then the last one is $4.67 billion of face value was purchased. So my point here is the market is active. There are investors that want to purchase these policies. They just need more to look at. So how can the proceeds be used? When you sell your car, you sell your house, assets that you own, right? Are the proceeds limited in any way? No, right? You can use it for anything. Same thing. Do anything with the money that you want. That was a great story about the house. I have to go look for the pineapple house. I'm from Palm Desert, sorry. So now I have to go look. Supplement the income. Once again, pay down that mortgage to get a reverse mortgage. Donate to favorite nonprofits. Where's Bougie? Donate to Bougie. Whatever people want to do with the money, they can do it. Reinvest it. Start a business. Doesn't matter. Go do it. So does this guy look familiar? Right? Who are the investors? Who buys these policies? This gentleman's been investing in life settlements since the mid-90s. Stephen Schwartzman, Blackstone Group. So the buyers tend to be high net worth individuals, hedge funds, mutual funds, college endowment funds. The state of Michigan has $500 million invested in life settlements. And we love the buyers, right? Because without the buyers making money, we can't help clients. So how can clients sell their policy? There's 2 ways. One is direct to a buyer, what we call a provider, or through a broker. And David told me this morning he heard a buyer on the radio, literally as he was pulling in this morning. Yeah, they're advertising on TV, they're advertising on the radio, and I love it because they're raising visibility for life settlements, and that's a good thing. But there's positives and negatives to working direct with a provider or going through a broker. So let's talk about it real briefly, because I just want you to understand who the parties are. When clients go direct to a provider, they do save broker commissions. And so that's the positive. The negative is they are most likely underselling that policy. Because no disrespect in any way, shape, or form, they do not have a fiduciary duty to clients. They're just trying to get a policy for as little as possible. And once again, you and I are no different. If we go to the car dealership to buy a car, I don't know about you, but I'm not walking into the dealership to say, let me pay the most amount of money for the SUV that I want, that I can. Of course not, right? We're trying to get a deal. Same thing. A broker is the opposite. So the positive is fiduciary duty to clients, marketing that policy to many different providers to get the most amount of money, introducing competition to get the most amount of money. Downside, we get paid commission for our work. And here's an example of what this looks like. This is literally an actual client case. It just got funded last month. And this looks like there's only 3 buyers, right? But there's not. This is just the buyers that were the top offer on that particular day. So when we market a policy, we have to provide a broker disclosure to clients that shows all the offers that were the top offer that day, if you will. So you can see what happened in this particular case. We started out at below 150,000. It's just that Coventry was the highest that particular day at 150,000. By the time we were done, $370,000 for that policy by introducing competition. And you heard me, that doctor's policy was 15, went to 190. I had a case where we started at 15,000 and the top offer grant, she was like 3 weeks later, $480,000. So once again, leveraging those buyers. And John alluded to this earlier as well. Why are these term policies different in how much the client got? The buyers are looking at it like, how much premium do they have to pay? How long do they have to pay it? What do they think someone's life expectancy is? And they, of course, look at what is the benefit that they're going to get. This gentleman is 78 years old, lovely man. He does have cancer, manageable cancer, but he does have it. And you're thinking, well, why would he sell his policy? And in his case, he lost his wife 4 years prior. His daughters are the beneficiaries now, but they don't need the money. So he says, Lisa, if I can sell my policy now, make my life more comfortable, that's what I want to do. And so we started out at 20,000. By the time we're done, it's 128.5, because once again, he's 78. He has those health issues. That's a non-convertible term, by the way. $250,000 policy. This one was ending. Gentleman's 68 years old, does have some liver issues, significant. He's got a liver transplant now, by the way, and he's doing great. But point is that the opening offer was 50,000. By the time we're done, 75. For a term policy that was ending, not going to do anything with it, going to let it go for 0. And he was so excited. He called me on a Saturday morning, left me a voicemail, and he said, do not tell your husband I said this, but I just love you. I know. We're paying off the car on Monday. This one's a friend of mine, actually, redhead, 72 years old, healthy. Her policy was ending, right? Was going to get nothing, but she's healthy, 72. So that's why it's 8. But once again, 0, right? She's like, Merry Christmas to me. Ralph and I are going on vacation. So what are the negatives? The policy proceeds can be taxed. Now, I am not a CPA or tax professional, but I know there's some in this room and I know there's some out there on Zoom, so consult with them for sure. But like any asset, the taxation works very similar. The premiums that were put into the policy since the beginning of the policy are a basis. Sound familiar? So anything up until the basis, any offers underneath that or settlement money underneath that should be not taxed. And then over that is typically long-term capital gains. There's some unique circumstances where there might be a little bit of ordinary income, but for the most part, long-term capital gains. Being able to obtain additional life insurance can be an issue because insurance companies are asking, have you ever sold a life insurance policy before? And if you say yes, they probably will not issue it. There are some carriers that don't. I suggest that you talk to some wonderful life insurance professionals in this room that can help, but this could be an issue. I haven't found any of these, by the way, to be a deterrent to selling a policy. because if you wanted your policy, you'd probably keep it. Government funding, if someone's on Medi-Cal, right, could affect government funding because clients are going to get a 1099 in January. But once again, elder law attorneys in the room can know how to handle that. And last one is creditor debt. If I'm in bankruptcy and I sell my policy in bankruptcy, creditors can get that. But once I'm out of bankruptcy, and by the way, I'm not in bankruptcy, but once I'm out of bankruptcy or client's out of bankruptcy, it's fine. So, clients have bankruptcies in their past. It's not a problem once it's over. But I just wanted to mention the negatives. Once again, I haven't seen a client not sell a policy for any of those reasons, but they're there. Be respectful of your time. How long does this take? 3 to 5 months is typical. So once again, we're like selling a house, like selling real estate, 3 to 5 months. To find out how much investors would like to purchase for a policy is about 60 to 90 days. We can fast track it, but I'm just saying typically 60 to 90 days because we have to get medical records. That's how the investors will underwrite a client's life expectancy, bluntly. And that can take a while. We also need to get policy premium projections. So an offer is made or not. If an offer is not made, client walks away. If an offer is made, clients do not have to accept it. Sometimes clients just kick tires. I just want to see how much this policy can bring. And depending upon what it brings, then I may or may not sell it. Fine. They just walk away. And then we go into escrow just like a house. So if a client says, yes, I want that, thick contract, a lot of signatures, a lot of notarized signatures. I'll talk about compliance in a minute because, right, think about this. This could get a little creepy if it's not regulated, and it is. But point is, it goes into escrow to protect clients. And then once the change of ownership is done to the buyer and the change of beneficiary is done to the buyer, escrow will close. With 1 to 2 days, clients will have their money, which can either be by wire transfer, by the way, or by check, depending upon what they want to do. So where are life settlements regulated? First of all, legal since 1911. Surprise anybody? Right? Yeah, 1911. If y'all are interested in the backstory on Grigsby versus Russell, I'm an insurance geek and I love the backstory, but you will probably go to sleep. So I won't bother you if you're not interested, but see me afterwards, I'll tell you the backstory on it. But point is, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes in a statement of decision said, your life insurance policy is an asset that you own. And as an asset, you can transfer it to anybody, anytime. That's what makes the market go. That's why it works in the US. It started in the mid-'80s with the AIDS epidemic where we had viaticals. That term sound kind of familiar? Yeah. But John mentioned the Wild West. Now, I love the West. I'm a California girl. I love the West, don't love the Wild West. And that was unregulated. Just do the math on that. So point is, the Life Insurance Settlements Association started in the mid-'90s. So fast forward to today, and that's the important part. Highly regulated by departments of insurance across the country. Each state is a little different in terms of, do they use the NCOIL, the National Congress of Insurance Legislators model language, or do they use the NAIC, National Association of Insurance Commissioners model language? Doesn't matter. Bottom line is, it's regulated by departments of insurance across the country. And that is key. So much compliance. Yes, sir.
The last sentence there. 7 states.
Mm-hmm.
It's California.
They're not. I'm sorry, excuse me. 7 states mandate insurance companies disclose options to lapse or surrender. California is not one of them. And here's the other thing to think about too. Number one, even in the 7 states, most clients do not call their insurance company and say, hi, I'm going to lapse or surrender my policy today, right? They just don't. And so even in these 7 states, clients don't know. They just stop making the premium payments and let them go. Or they just call the insurance company and say, send me the forms to surrender my policy. And how do you prove the insurance companies are actually saying something? Because that's part of it too. The insurance companies are not going to tell people this is here. No disrespect to insurance companies. Because for the record, I do believe in life insurance. I think life insurance is extremely important. It's important for estate planning. It's important for families. It's important for a lot of different reasons. So once again, I'm not here to say life insurance companies are bad and awful. No, they're really important, and life insurance is important. What I am saying, once again, is when the policy is no longer wanted or needed or unaffordable, this is an option. Okay, go ahead. Okay, transparency. So here's a couple things that are really important. Nobody in our world does not know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on. Why? Beneficiaries have to sign off. Every beneficiary of a policy has to sign off. And it literally is called a beneficiary release form, and it says, I know this policy is being sold, and I know that I'm not going to get the proceeds of the policy. So that's really important. Number two, a client's physician has to sign a letter that says, this client is of sound mind to complete the transaction. And if they're not, because sometimes there are people that do not have capacity, if there's a power of attorney in place, that's not a problem. If there's no power of attorney in place and this person does not have capacity, the doctor's not going to sign the letter. This is not happening. And that's important too. And lastly, broker disclosures, if a broker is used, are disclosed. Broker commissions are disclosed, and a client physically has to sign a piece of paper disclosing the broker commissions. They're not hidden on page 32, subsection 4 and 3-point print. Are we getting close? We're getting close. Okay. So there's a lot of misperceptions sometimes about, once again, what life settlements are. There's a lot of myths. So I'm going to run through some of these, the common myths that I hear. In other words, people say, oh, Lisa, you'll want only whole life policies can be sold. And we know that universal life and term policies are really our top sellers. Most people do not sell their policies to pay medical bills. John had some great examples. You just saw some other great examples. Most clients sell their policies because they're going to get rid of them anyway. It's not to pay medical bills. It's to pay off the car, like Al did. This is not just for $10 million policies or $1 million policies. We can sell policies around $100,000 of face value, right around that. So this is available for everybody. This is not just for the sick. People say, oh, well, and pardon my phrase here, but I literally just heard this last week from an insurance agent. Oh, well, Lisa, these buyers are just looking for people that have 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel. Now, it is true, shorter life expectancies are more valuable for clients, right? They'll get more money. But we sell healthy people's policies all the time. Think about it. The older I am, I can be pretty healthy and sell my policy, because the buyers bluntly are looking for clients with 10 to 15 years of life expectancy or less, sometimes 20, even a little bit beyond that. So this is not people who just have impairments. Buyers are not just looking for clients who are chronologically advanced. I didn't know how else to say 80s or 90s without being direct. So point is, we have clients in their 50s. So the younger I am, the more impairments I have to have, right, to fit in that life expectancy window. But this is not just for people, it's for people of all ages, just depends upon their health. Clients do not have to sell their entire policy. You just heard today about retained death benefits. But if a client has a convertible term policy, right, it's convertible to that permanent policy, clients can convert part of it and keep for themselves. We have this happen pretty often, and sell the rest of it. Like, don't let it go to waste, right? This is not just for wealthy clients. This is for everybody. You saw the $50,000 policy we sold. We sell $100,000 policies all the time. And this is not illegal. This is not stoli. So besides being a vodka that y'all might need right about now, hearing about life settlements, Bloody Mary time, I don't know. But point is, this is not stranger originated life insurance. Stoli is illegal. And frankly, should be illegal. It's been illegal for, 14 years, 15 years. Stoli is stranger originated life insurance. This is people going up to seniors and saying, hey, let me buy a life insurance policy on you and I'll pay you some money for it, or I'll give you free insurance for a couple of years. And then I'm going to make myself the beneficiary. That's stoli. There's no insurable interest between the two parties. That is not what we're talking about here. When the policies that are sold in our market were issued, who's the beneficiary? It's the trust. It's the kids, it's the spouse, it's the business partner. There's insurable interest there. All we're doing is transferring ownership to another entity. Thank you, Grigsby versus Russell. That's it. So why don't life insurance companies talk about this? We were just talking about this earlier. And once again, I'm going to clarify why not, but I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful to life insurance companies. I get it. Their business model is I get to collect premiums and not pay claims, right? That's the business model, and that's fine because they're here when we need them. But point is, the reason that the insurance companies aren't talking about it is because when buyers purchase a policy, they know they're looking at a claim. They just don't know when. So because when I lapse a policy, I've paid premiums and the policy's gone and the insurance company doesn't have to pay a claim. It's the same thing if a client surrenders it. But if a buyer buys it, they're going to continue to make the premium payments. And so the insurance companies know these buyers are not going to lapse the policy. They're not going to surrender it. They're going to keep the policy all the way through to maturity. One could make the argument that at least they get to get more premiums. That's not the way they see it. So point is, they discourage agents from talking about life settlements. Especially if you're a captive agent, like you represent XYZ insurance company only, literally, if they talk about life settlements, the contract will be cut. I mean, they're pretty heavy-handed about it. The other thing they're doing is they're offering some advanced surrender offers. And this is a few insurance companies. And by the way, the insurance departments are coming down on these carriers. There's a couple of them out there saying, hey, if you surrender your policy early, we'll give you X amount of dollars. Once again, the insurance departments are coming down on that because it's almost life settlement-ish without being in the life settlement market. So these clients, frankly, if this is happening, we've marketed these policies and we've beat them every time in terms of getting the client more money. Okay, 5 minutes, right? Okay, here we go. So back to why. Why does this matter for you? Because if you are working with ILETs, if you are an attorney working with business sales, these are your clients. If you're CPA and you're talking about estate taxes or buy-sell arrangements or anything like that, these are your clients. Charitable organizations, we've talked about, this can increase donations if a client or a donor doesn't want their policy anymore. Now, in all fairness to nonprofits, if you have a donor that has a life insurance policy, you're the beneficiary, and they're going to make the premium payments, that's great. That's perfect. But what if they're not? That's where this can come into play. Fiduciaries and trustees, right? Just be aware this is available. Financial advisors, obviously, clients can reinvest that money. Healthcare organizations, right? I can pay for assisted living, memory care, home care, aging in place. Insurance agents, obviously, these are clients. And real estate reverse mortgage professionals, we talked about that. The money can be used to pay down that mortgage to be able to get a reverse mortgage, or perhaps real estate, be able to make a down payment on a new house or moving expenses, whatever. But these are your clients, and you can help them. So when to talk about a client, and you've almost survived, ladies and gentlemen, I swear I only have a few more slides left. So when to talk about it, if you're doing annual reviews to your clients or with your clients, great time to talk about their life insurance policy, because what? It's an asset and it should be part of an annual review. What happens if someone's spouse has passed away or someone's gotten a divorce? That can be an opportunity to talk about what are you going to do with the life insurance policy? Do you really need it? The budget's changed, right? I've retired, or people are running out of money, right? I never thought I was going to live this long, and now I've planned, I've saved money, but I don't have enough money now. That's a key to what about your life insurance policy? Obviously, if they call you and say, hey, I'm ready to get rid of my policy, what should I do with it? Or if they're looking to fund long-term care costs. Absolutely. The bottom line here is make sure your clients call you, right? And they don't call the 800 number on TV or on the radio, because once again, those are buyers direct. We want your clients to have you in their lives to be able to give them the proper advice. Are life settlements right for your clients? I don't know. They're your clients. You would know. What I am saying is that there's an awful lot of clients who are getting rid of life insurance policies, and we're just here to get them more money. And lastly, I almost put the Ghostbusters sign up there, like, who are you gonna call? But we're here, like I said, we're life settlements brokers. We're here to market a client's life insurance policy to get them the most amount of money that we can by introducing competition, and our fiduciary duty is to them. So literally it's free, no obligation appraisals. We are paid commissions, but only once a client sells their policy and they have money in their hands, then we are paid commissions. So we are here helping people benefit from unwanted or unneeded life insurance policies. My cards and flyers are out. The bottom line here is I appreciate your time, and it would be a privilege to be of service to you and your clients should the need ever arise. Thank you for your time. Right on time.
Wow, right on time is exactly right. So real quickly, remember to look at the website for the upcoming programs. I wanted to thank the board, David Jacobs of Acumen Insurance Solutions. David's over there. And of course, Pete, who you met earlier, and Barry. I don't think Barry's here today, from Northern Trust. And Bill, we're all thinking of you if you're watching. Get better soon. Thank you guys. And I am right on time. Let's all hit our Tuesday, remember. Thank you.